Hey guys, how's it going? Billy here, coming at you this time with some vinyl finds, some cassette scores, a little meetup. This is all about my trip from Nashville. Took a trip a couple weeks ago to Nashville, Tennessee. By the way, football season's back. Go Titans. This is the old school. Of course, they changed their look, a little tweak the uniforms a little bit this year, but I'm ready for football. So excited for football to be back. But enough about football. Let's talk about some vinyl. Let's talk about some cassettes. Let's talk about meetups. So a couple weeks ago, the wife and I took our son and his girlfriend to Nashville, Tennessee. We actually went on a little vacation, little getaway before he heads off to college. So we ended up going to Cookeville, Tennessee, where there is a bunch of falls, apparently. And I can't remember, Cummins Falls, that was the name of the place we went to. So we went to Cummins Falls, where it was like a 3-mile trek down into this, the base of this falls, and then a half-mile trek through the creek to the falls. It was really good, really fun. We had a good time. The hike back up was a little bit intense, but there was a direct route up, so it wasn't quite 3 miles up. It was only like a mile and a half back up the hill. But a mile and a half walking straight up like this is a bitch, especially when you're fat and old like me. But it was a good time. We had a great time. That was. We did that Friday morning, got up bright and early Friday morning and went there, and then drove into Nashville. The wife dropped me off at George's place, and George was such a gracious host. We hung out at George's for a little bit and exchanged a couple things. I had brought a couple things for him, and he had some things for me, which I will show off here in a second. Then we ended up loading up and did some record shopping. Went to a couple, 3 different stores. Some really good stores. Great Escape, which is where we met up with Chris Hansen. Thank you, Chris, rocking the Forever Metal shirt. Awesome. Thank you so much for that. It was great to finally meet you. When I come back, I would like to just get together, you and I hang, maybe have dinner, and just shoot the shit a lot more. So anyway, we went to the Great Escape. We went somewhere else. I can't remember where else we went to. And then we wrapped it up at Phonolux, which was a really great store. I love that store. So anyway, let's jump right in here and show you the goods. So obviously you see the shirt that Chris had given me. It was great meeting up with Chris. We swapped a couple things, and he gave me this. I brought it back home. Little Charlie Benante signed drum head, which is awesome. I'll have to find a spot up on the wall here to hang this. This is nice. They were just in town last night, Chris. Slayer, Lamb of God. I think maybe even Testament might have been with them, but Anthrax. They would have been the only ones I would have really cared to see. Slayer, I'm kind of over. Lamb of God, never really been into, but Anthrax never disappoints. So thank you for that. That is so cool. You can see as you can see the signature there, coffee, kind of cool. And then this was a total killer surprise. He had told me not to leave this in the car for very long, which I didn't. But when I opened it up, it's Anthrax. It's not a single, but it's an EP. But the EP it's the. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce this. But it has probably my favorite Anthrax cover on there, Parasite, the Kiss cover. This is awesome, so great. Did not have this, Chris. Thank you so much for that, buddy. Thank you so much for everything. The shirt, the drum head, and especially this. Love it. Thank you so much for that. It was great meeting you. Like I said, let's try and plan a meetup where we can actually hang a little bit longer. That would be great. So that was the meetup with Chris. We hung out, talked a little bit at the Great Escape. he was picking up a few things, some comics and whatnot. Maybe I think he had a couple CDs as well. But George also had given me a few things, and I'm going to run through those. A little bit of cassettage here. So this is Alabama Rollin, which I believe is a duplicate. I have yet to get all my cassettes in order. I'm working on building a custom shelf unit for my cassettes that will hold the majority of them. If you guys remember the front-facing units that my dad and I built a couple of years ago, I'm going to put, there was some space underneath of those. I'm going to build some storage underneath of those for my cassettes. And I'll probably have to do something similar with my 8-tracks, but they won't all fit under there because I have so many now. Bullet Boys, I wasn't sure if this was in one of those recent lots that I got from either Dan or my other friend that I bought the 200 rock and metal cassettes from, but I will check, and if any of these are duplicates, I'll let you guys know. I know, Dan, we're talking back and forth. I'm checking on a couple of those other things, so I definitely haven't forgotten about you, buddy. Here's some Crocus, Headhunter, Metal Church, The Dark. These are awesome, George. A lot of these I do not have. There's some Wasp. This is Inside the Electric Circus. Striper. Little Soldiers Under Command. Dangerous Toys. That one was cool to have. Got a couple Scorpions here. There's Animal Magnetism. And Love at First Sting. These were in great condition, George. I appreciate that. I love this one. Love seeing this one. I'm gonna have to check and see if this is a duplicate too, because I know somebody out there will definitely want this. A Nuclear Assault, Survive, and last but not least, little Jackal, Push Come to Shove. So that was kind of cool. I know I did not have that one. So thank you so much for that, George. That was awesome. It was great hanging out with you. We got to hang out quite a bit that evening. 2 or 3 record stores, and then we went out to eat with my wife and her friends, and it was a great time. Thank you so much for that, George. I had a blast. So let's jump right into the goods here. So like I said, the first store we went to was The Great Escape, and I had messaged Chris, and I'm like, you know, he's like, well, where are you wanting to go? I said, well, is there anywhere that's going to have any good, some killer rock and metal? And he said, well, typically, you know, there's not a whole lot of rock and metal to be had here in Nashville. So lo and behold, first thing I walk into Great Escape, and up on the wall is Sabotage, Gutter Ballet. Let's get that glare off there. There you go. So this is one that I have been looking for and looking for and looking for. It's a U.S. press, but you know, you pretty much only find these things overseas anymore. Once they're in people's collection, they stay. I have not seen one of these out in the wild in years, so I was so stoked to find this, and not only find it, but find it at a killer price. It's a VG Plus all around. Great album, great condition. Super stoked to find that one. Then I'm going to save that one for a second there, but I'm going to show you a couple of the other smaller finds here. So this is Hank Williams Jr., the early years. You guys, some of you may remember me showing this a while back. Mitch Wood had found this for me, but there was some damage to the top and some seam splitting on the bottom that probably, I'm assuming, happened during shipping, but it was a fairly cheap record. This was like $8, and I wanted to get this. This is one of those that's going to complete my Hank Williams Jr. Box set up here. You'll see, which we'll show off here in another video here shortly, since I finally have that one completed. This was one of the others that I needed to fill a hole. It's One Night Stands. I was pumped to find this one, and I think it was like $4. So I think that was the last one that I needed to fill that hole in that Hank Williams Jr. box. Another thing I was kind of stoked to find, I looked at it and thought about it for a little bit. This was in their audiophile section. So this is actually a it's not a quality. I don't know if it's a Quality Records pressing or not. But it's not a MoFi, but it's definitely an audiophile pressing of Montrose's debut, self-titled debut, of course, with Sammy Hagar, Ronnie Montrose, Bill Church. Yeah, so there we go. So this is a remastered and expanded edition, 180 gram vinyl. Includes previously unreleased bonus disc and demos, radio sessions from 1973. So I have not opened this one up yet, but can't wait to give this one a spin. Being a huge Sammy Hagar fan, this was sealed, 15 bucks. So had to give it a try. And then this one was one that I had in my hands, and George tried talking me out of it, I believe. Because obviously there are, and he had best of intentions. He was like, look, there's better Little Richard comps out there, but what he didn't know was I was getting this just as an upgrade, just to go down memory lane. If you guys remember from some of my videos past, this is one of the very first records that I ever owned, and I wore it out. I mean, I still have my original. I should have pulled it out for this video, but it is beat and trashed to hell. But now it's nice to own a really nice copy of this album. Love Little Richard, guys. Then there were a couple more things. Where did I find? Yeah, this was the. I still ended up getting this at Great Escape. So this is Reba McEntire, late 80s, early 90s stuff, 1989. This is Sweet 16, songs like Kathy's Clown, Walk On, a couple others. But it's just around here, really hard to find. Apparently in Nashville, not too hard to find. But like you say, it's 1989. Probably a BMG or Record Club pressing. But this was like $8. You know, George says he sees them all the time in Nashville, but it's one that I needed because they are hard to find around here. So I was glad to snag that. And then lastly, from Great Escape, this fills a huge hole in the Sabbath collection, Headless Cross. This is a Record Club. It's on the American IRS label, but it is a Record Club. I don't know if you guys can see that there. Get it to focus. There we go. So it's a Record Club pressing. I have not been able to find too much information on this, but this is a VG++, near mint copy all around. Just an absolutely gorgeous copy. Glad to add this to the collection. I looked at it and looked at it and looked at it, and they were able to do a little bit of bartering on this. The price was great, especially if I was going to have to order this from overseas. By the time I paid their price, the conversion price plus shipping, it wouldn't have been. I didn't get it for not about half of what I would have paid, but maybe just a little more than half. So very excited to add that to the collection. Moving on, this is stuff I ended up getting from Phonolux. Great little store. Well, not a little store. Really nice, well curated store in Nashville. Great country selection, obviously. So Merle Haggard, gold stamp promo of Friend in California, one of his late 80s releases. I love, a lot of people don't care for Haggard's 80s material or his catalog. I love it. Songs like Friend in California, I've Had a Beautiful Time, This Song's For You, Thank You for Keeping My House. Great stuff. Love the Hag. So I ended up picking that up, filling a nice hole in the Haggard collection. This is one that I hadn't seen. I'm not a huge Holly Dunn fan, but this has her huge hit, Daddy's Hands, on it as well. This is from, I believe, 1986. I'm just guessing off the top of my head. Yes, 1986. So was glad to add that to the collection. Really, really cheap as well. Here's a really hard to find, super hard to find Johnny Paycheck album. I have a nice VG++ copy of Modern Times. This is the one that has Old Violin. This was $4, and now you all know why it was $4. A little bit of water damage to the back, but you don't play the covers. It's a rare, rare record. Ended up just picking it up to have an extra copy because I love this album. Love the song Old Violin. Love Joe LeBlanc, Old Violin. Joe LeBlanc, it's a duet with Wet Willie's Jimmy Hall. Phenomenal vocalist, great cut, great track. So tons of good stuff on here. This is one of Johnny's later albums. Really, really good stuff. Like I said, pick that up for $4. A little bit of water damage to the cover. Another one that you'd never see, a little Joel Sanier. This has Tear Stained Letter, yeah, Tear Stained Letter, and Come On Joe. Oh, there we are, right on. So Come On Joe, Tear Stained Letter, those were the biggies off of this one, but this is from 87, yeah, 1987. Joel, of course, playing the accordion, so it's a little Louisiana, a little Cajun infused country there. Great stuff. Glad to finally add this one to the collection. That's the first time I've ever seen that in person. Then a couple more things here. This, I was pumped, super pumped. There you go, Andy. Super pumped to see this. This is Randy Houser, Call Me Cadillac, from 2010. Yeah, 2010. So, you guys, it's a newer country artist. To put this album out in 2010, obviously there weren't very many of these. I've never seen this. I have this on CD. Love the album. Love Randy Houser. But to find this, that's the great thing about Nashville. You find stuff that you would never see anywhere else. So to find this, I was stoked, over the moon, and it was like $12. So pumped to finally get that. Didn't even know it was out there. Last but not least, here on vinyl. At Phonolux, he had a Chris LeDoux original press. Sings his songs, Life of Rodeo Man. This has songs on there. Of course, if you guys know the story of Chris, he's a real cowboy, competition cowboy. Did the circuit for years and may have even been a world champion. I'm not 100% sure, but may have even been a world champion at one time. But great singer, a singer of cowboy songs, folk songs, country songs. And he made several records throughout the 70s and 80s, and he would basically sell them old style out of the trunk of his car or out of the back of his truck at these rodeos and fairs and festivals. This one here is one that is from 1975. So some of the songs on here, Cabala Diablo, which is an old Charlie Daniels song, I believe. Amarillo by Morning, George Strait, of course. But this is an early version of this. I can't wait to open this up. This is a sealed copy too, folks. Never see these things sealed. I'm gonna open it, I think. I mean, he gave me a pretty good deal on this. It was still quite expensive, but I was glad to have this. This is now the second original pressing, Chris LeDoux, that I have in the collection. But tons of great stuff on here. Rhinestone Cowboy, Long Black Veil. Can't wait to give this guy a spin. Those of you who know country and know about Chris LeDoux know how good of a find this was. Super stoked to have that. Last things here, guys, were a few cassettes I picked up at Phonolux. So my all-time favorite Dwight Yoakam album. Dude, I wish they would put this out on vinyl this time, from 1993. It's either 92 or 93. I don't see a copyright on here, but just some of Dwight's best right here. Need to get that out on vinyl. And then I believe this is the follow-up to this time, and it's gone. And this may actually be the last collaboration between Dwight Yoakam and Pete Anderson as guitar player and producer. Great album, good stuff. Glad to pick those up. They were cheap, couple bucks, $3, and then Cash, the American Recordings Unchained. Nice one. Don't see that one very often. At least I don't see that one very often. Great to add that one to the collection. And lastly, Montgomery Gentry sealed My Town from 2002. So there were not many cassettes floating around in 2002. Paid up a little bit for this one. This one was $6, but it's still sealed, and it is a super rare cassette. Glad to add that to the collection. So that's my my Nashville finds, guys. It was great meeting George. Thank you again, George, for driving me around and showing me the town, showing me the well, obviously the town has changed since I've been there 14, 15 years ago. It's just boomed unbelievably. Was gone through the roof. But for driving me around, driving Miss Daisy, taking me to the record stores, sitting down, enjoying a nice Mexican meal. It was great. Let's do it again sometime. Chris, thank you again so much for everything. Let's get together as well. You're always more than welcome here, guys. If I can make it happen, I'll drive you guys around. We'll see the sights of St. Louis and hit a few record stores. So, guys, thank you for tuning in. I'm going to be doing a follow-up video here, so if you want to catch that on the flip side. Just got back from a impromptu trip to Kansas City on business. It was in and out in one day, taking care of business. Called up a buddy, went and saw a couple record stores, shops, stores, whatever we call them, just as long as you don't say stores or stops, record stores. So that's going to be coming up next. So, guys, as always, thank you for tuning in. Take care. Peace.